nos quedan dos charlas y la mesa redonda. Vamos a dar paso a la siguiente charla. Voy a invitar al escenario a... Are you ready? Yeah. Marjolein Pilon.
Hi. Thank you. So, lamentablemente no hablo español. So, muchas gracias for having me. And that is all I will say in Spanish. How is it with the energy? Are you still energized? Yeah? Okay, good, good. Oh, where's my clicker here? Okay, so I'm going to start with a story today. It was Christmas Eve, 1968, and there was a tiny spacecraft, the Apollo 8, and it was orbiting around the moon, and on board were 3 astronauts. And these were the first living beings to ever be on a mission to the moon. So, and imagine that you are sitting there with them, and you are watching out of the window, and you see this moonscape underneath you, and then all of a sudden, out of the corner of your eye, you see this beautiful blue sphere coming up over the horizon of the moon. So just imagine this beautiful blue sphere, and it has this tiny razor-thin atmosphere around it, holding everything that we love, right? Our oceans and our forests and all living beings. So Bill Anders, he is there on board, and he sees this. And he grabs his camera and he shoots this iconic image called Earthrise. And when he gets back to Earth, he says, "We came all this way to explore the moon, but the most important thing is that we discovered the Earth." So how important is that? And then later, before he died, in an interview, he said, "It's too bad. It's just too bad how we treat our beautiful planet." And that is just too bad, right? So I'm here with you today to explore how we, within the Agile community, how we can use and expand our Agile skill set to help treat the planet a little better, and how we can rise up for our planetary challenges. So it was about 3 years ago. Oh no, let me first introduce myself. My name is Marjolein Pilon. I'm a release train engineer from the Netherlands. And I'm also a pioneer in combining sustainability and Agile. And that is also what I'm doing in the company that I work for, and I'm going to take you on a journey that I've been through in the past 3 years. So 3 years ago, I was a Scrum Master at a large bank in the Netherlands. It's Rabobank. They also are in Madrid. I don't know, maybe you know them. Yeah. So, and one day, I asked one of my teams, we were standing in the coffee corner, and I asked them a question. It was not about the usual things that we as Scrum Masters talk about, like backlog or retro or, sprint review. But out of curiosity, I asked them, "Do you have any idea of the carbon footprint of our application landscape?" And I never thought about it before, and they were so intrigued by the question. They had never thought about it before either, and we decided to dig in. And then the next retro, we called it a planet retrospective, and we did a brainstorm. And we brainstormed about how we can reduce our carbon footprint. And then one of the developers, he said, "We could easily reduce our footprint with 10%, easily, if we would just decommission some of our legacy stuff, if we would optimize some of our queries." And that really hit me. And then I thought, what if all Scrum teams, what if all Agile teams have this conversation? We could make such an impact, right? So, and then it turned out that other teams were interested as well. So I did a retro with many more teams, and it turned into a workshop. And then there was one team, and they were really invested in it. And after the workshop, it was really, really great. Within a few months' time, they reduced their carbon footprint with 45%. Like they almost halved their carbon footprint. So how amazing is that? And then I was like, okay, this is not just about one team. This is not about one company. We can make a movement out of this. So, and that is also why I'm here with you today, to, to share some of the learnings, the things that we learned with our Agile teams in our efforts to become more sustainable. And yeah, so before we dig in, I would like to do a quick check-in with you. And I'm really curious about how you feel about our planetary challenges when we talk about, biodiversity loss and climate change and all the floods that are happening and the droughts. I think that is something that you experience here in Madrid, right? By a raise of hands, who feels overwhelmed by this sometimes, by our planetary challenges? Who feels what is overwhelmed in Spanish? Okay, who feels that? Yeah, I do feel that sometimes. Okay, so who feels hopeful? Who feels like we've got this? We can live up to this. We can, maybe, technology will save us. Maybe AI will save us. Who is at least sometimes hopeful? Sometimes, yeah. Well, I'm hopeful sometimes. Okay. Who's not interested? Okay, so who's just like, leave me alone. I don't want to think about this. I just want to have a happy life with my family, with my friends, do my job. Who's not? I'm not interested sometimes. I'm sometimes like, leave me alone. I don't want to. But I don't feel that always, because obviously otherwise I wouldn't be standing here. Who feels anxious about the future sometimes? Who has climate anxiety? Yeah. Yeah, I feel that too. I know that feeling well. And so I think the point is, and that is something that I experience myself, is that it is so important to let all these feelings in, right? To not push it away. Because I noticed I suffered from climate anxiety quite a lot, and my children, they are 6 and 8 right now. When they were small, I was like, oh, what kind of world is this that I put them in, right? And I really wanted to do something meaningful against climate change, but I couldn't really figure out how. And it made me really fearful and anxious. And then one day I realized, I'm trying to push this away. I don't want to read the news about it. I just don't talk about it, but it's there. And then I realized, okay, I need to sit with this. I need to let this all in, even though it's hard. It's really tough. This is tough. But I did notice that when I let it in and when I really sat with it, and it didn't happen overnight, it took me a few months, but that it transformed something inside of me. So it's not that I don't feel it anymore, but it's not so prominent there. And the really great thing is that I really felt that it transformed into a new kind of energy of creativity and action. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is really because I first went through this stuff personally, and then something else opened up. So inside of me, this opened up, and I could really enter this flow of creativity and find a way to, in a meaningful way, address within my own circle of influence climate change. Okay, so there is some great news. We have this amazing toolkit, right? We already have an amazing skill set. We already know how to work with complexity. So our planetary challenges, they are so big, and they are so complex, and they are of a magnitude that you can feel that is really so insignificant, everything that you do about it, right? But we know how to tackle complexity. We are trained to work with unpredictability. We already know how to hold a big vision and how to break it into smaller steps. And we already know how to experiment. I mean, we've been talking about this today. And we know how to have this razor-sharp focus on a big vision. And we have all this toolkit in place to work like this, right? So, what we are going to do now is we are going to focus, okay? So, when we talk about planetary challenges, about biodiversity loss, about climate change, we really need... Oh, was it me? We really need to find what our own circle of influence is, okay? Because how do we tackle complexity? We make it smaller. We pull things into our circle of influence. So what is our circle of influence? So we are going to narrow down now. We, in the Agile community, we are mostly in IT, right? In tech. So the thing about IT is it has a carbon footprint. And a quite big one, especially now we have AI, so our footprint is rising. Oh, there we go again. Oh no. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Spoiler. Yeah. So, do you all remember? Is it a clicker? Or should I have another clicker? Or maybe I will just. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Do you all remember the Paris Agreement? 2016 Paris Agreement, what was it about again? Do you remember? It was about how we can keep our climate safe and stable enough for future generations to thrive. And in order to get there, we need to keep our temperature rise well below 2 degrees Celsius. And in order to reach that goal, we need to become climate neutral by 2050. Climate neutral by 2050. Are we on course? Okay, and we need to cut our carbon emissions by 55% in 2030. So if we have a look at what that means for us in IT, because what does that have to do with us? I'm going to take you on a journey to the IT carbon footprint and explain to you what a carbon footprint is of our industry. So this was before AI. Data centers consumed 1 to 2% of global energy usage. This is 2 or 3 years ago. Now, including the embedded carbon, and embedded carbon is the production and the life cycle of devices. If you include that, it was about 4%. But now we have AI, and the big tech companies like Microsoft and Google and Amazon, they see this huge rise in their greenhouse gas emissions and in their energy usage. And it is estimated by MIT Sloan that data centers could use 21% of all the global energy usage in 2030. So that is quite an exponential rise. So just to compare this, the current carbon emissions of the USA is about 14% of global emissions. So that is quite a challenge there that we have, right? Yeah. So we need to really start swimming upstream. So we have the Paris Agreement where we said, okay, we need to become climate neutral and to reduce our footprint with 55% by 2030, but our footprint is going to rise to 21% in 2030 is estimated. So, okay, how are we going to tackle that? Are we going to tackle that? Are you confident? Well, we know how to adapt, right? All right. So keep this challenge in mind. Keep this challenge in mind. The numbers that I just told you, keep this challenge in mind. And I take you on a different journey now, because I think what we need to do is we need to start looking through a new paradigm, through a new lens, in order to address our planetary challenges. So we need to be able to hold a bigger vision. And what we can learn from Native American peoples is that they have this a specific concept for that. And I don't know, maybe you've heard about it. It's a concept about the 7 generations. Okay, let me tell you how it goes. So every human being consists of 5 generations. So we as ordinary human beings, we live with our grandparents, and then we live with our parents, and we experience our own generation. And then we have our children, nieces, nephews, neighboring children, and then the generation, when we are lucky, we also see the generation after them. So that is 5 generations. But then they say there's also a 6th generation. And the 6th generation consists of all the people that ever came before us. So this is our ancestry back to the beginning of time, and they gave us life. So we should honor them for that. But then there is a 7th generation. And the 7th generation consists of all the people who will ever come after us. So this is our offspring until the end of time. And according to these Native American people, we must make our decisions with the 7th generation in mind. So we should make our decisions with our surroundings in mind, with the environment in mind, and with the generations after us. So, there we go. Here's a great example of that, right? Are there any people from Barcelona here? Good. So, I learned yesterday from Gerard here from Barcelona that this is not a cathedral. It's a church. Okay, but for the sake of the argument, I want to call this cathedral thinking. Is it finished already? No. Okay, for how long, do you know, for how long have they been working on it now? 100 years. More than 100 years? More than 100 years. Okay, so when they started to build this, did they already know exactly what it was going to look like? Okay. So did they have like a big impediment log of all the impediments that they were going to encounter? Probably not. And the other thing, last question is, no, not the last. The people who started this, Gaudi and all the other people who laid the first stones, did they live to see the end result? No, they're long dead, right? They're long dead. Okay, here's a final question. Was it worth it? Was it worth that they started to build this? I think at least the people from Barcelona, they would agree, right? That this is a beautiful church. So, and I think what we can learn from this in the Agile community also is that we don't need to have a full blueprint of the things that we need to build, right? We don't have to have a full blueprint of the world, what it is going to look like in 100 years. But what we do need to do is not build a cathedral out of stones, but we need to build a new model, a new system, a new way of organizing, and a new way of organizing IT when we bring it back into our own circle of influence. Right? So let me take you through this model a bit. So here we are still living in this model, right? This is like the era of economic growth. And this is based on endless growth. And it has brought us many, many riches, right? It has brought us our technology, it has brought us a lot of wealth, but it has also brought us to the place where our planet can no longer sustain us. And this model is based on certain values, like consumption and short-term thinking, which also reflects on the way that we have organized IT. So we have organized IT around short-term thinking, about maximization, like can we maximize the availability of all our products? Can we maximize the performance? Can we maximize data storage? Instead of wondering, how can we balance this with what we ask from the earth? So this model will no longer serve us, and we need to make changes where we can go to a situation where it is planet over profit. And it is not, well, like John said in the Agile Manifesto this morning, it's not that you cannot have a profit. Like the things on the right, they are also there, right? But we value the things on the left more. Okay, so we need to make our decisions with the planet in mind. And here are just some suggestions of what it could look like if we would organize in a new way, if we would organize IT in a way that is within the boundaries of the planet. So we could integrate green principles and standards for our DevOps teams. We could integrate the planet as a stakeholder in our user story templates. We can balance the value that we bring for our customers with what we ask from the earth, so that we, at least know, okay, so what is the energy consumption of the thing that our customer asks? We can build sustainable culture. We can integrate this, I'm going to show you later, we can integrate this into the way that we organize, into the way that we work with teams. We can minimize our waste. And also, like for the more tech people, we can also do mindful resource usage. And I think this is already also happening, in the way that we organize our resources. But we can also do that with the planet in mind, and to not only do it in terms of FinOps, but in terms of GreenOps. So we need a jump to this new situation, and that is tough. But I have some learnings from Agile teams who already started to make this jump. So I'm going to take you through 4 learnings. And they are really simple, actually. So the first one is we need to flip the paradigm. We need to change the perspective and help our teams to look to their IT environment through new eyes. So how do we help them with that? To ask new questions. Right? We can ask the question, what do we really need? What do we really need in terms of performance? Do we need an uptime of 99.9999% all the time for all our applications? Do we need 24/7 availability of all our applications? What kind of redundancy measures do we need? And how much waste do we collect in our environments? So how can we add the same value but emit less carbon? And then how can we balance the business needs against the environmental impact? And the other one that I really love is, what would we do differently if we consider the planet as a stakeholder? So just imagine that you have the planet sitting there on a chair with you and you address it as a stakeholder, right? So what would it say to you? So then the second lesson is get started. Get started right where you are, because when you get started, it is important to have a plan, but it's more important to get started. Because when you get started, you get the energy, you get energized, and you can always start with turning the lens inward. Work with your teams, with your company on turning the lens inward, do a brainstorm, identify the low-hanging fruit, and then define your first steps and put them on your backlog for the next sprint. So you make it so small that you can put them on the backlog for your next sprint. And that will get you started. So it starts with small steps, right? So what I really noticed about the small steps is that it gets your teams out of this sense of imagined powerlessness to empowerment. Like, we've got this. We can actually address climate change. We can actually address our carbon footprint. Even if it's small, tiny steps, already these small steps reduce your carbon emissions. So I'm going to give you some examples what teams have recently done and still working on. So teams that recently did a workshop, they have cleaned up old code and repositories. One team, they run their end-to-end tests less often because it wasn't necessary to do it more. One team, they disabled test and acceptance environments outside of office hours. Another team, they, like I just said, added a planet as a stakeholder to the user story template. And by the way, this is really cool because that team, in the refinement, they always talk about what their impact on the planet is. So with every tiny bit of work that they plan, they consider the planet as a stakeholder. A team cleaned up all unused data. And I did a recent workshop with Scrum Masters. One Scrum Master is going to use the innovation sprint for sustainability. Another one is going to organize a hackathon for teams who want to make green decisions. And me, together with another Scrum Master, we're going to create a toolbox for Scrum Masters to facilitate teams in green choices. So, pretty cool. And then another team, they are going to make an analysis of when are these services actually used. They didn't have enough insight in that, and then they are going to iterate on that. So, do you know this picture? I really love this one. So this guy here, he is like looking to the wall, right? And he's like, I really want that treasure, but I don't know how to get there. So what does he do? He breaks it into smaller steps. And that is what we are doing here as well. So the fourth learning is embed this into your way of working. So one team has integrated this into their definition of done. And they say, like, with regard to energy consumption, unnecessary resources are identified and shut down. And this other team that I was talking about, this is a team that I worked with myself. They added a planet as a stakeholder, and they always ask themselves, what actions do we carry out to reduce our impact on the planet? And then another very important one is to make this transparent. So what you really want is that your team defines actions to reduce their carbon footprint, and then that they have a dashboard where they see their footprint, or you could also use energy usage as a proxy. You could even use cost dashboard as a proxy. But that they at least see what the effect is of their actions. So, for example, when they shut down their test environment after office hours, that they can see, oh, this is the effect in terms of our energy usage. So, for example, the company that I work for now is a power grid operator. We don't have these dashboards. I've been trying to get them for 2 years now. Still not there. Working on it. Okay, but what you can also do is then tag the user stories that have a positive impact. Or you can use like a tag like green or something, and then you can track your progress in that way. And what is also really, really cool, if you have progress in terms of like you really reduced your carbon, share it in the sprint review, because that way your stakeholders also get inspired, and then you have this you can, how do you say, you can make this movement going of other teams and other stakeholders who are inspired by you. Yeah. So this is how I've worked with teams in the past couple of years. But what I also noticed is that it is really important to build a planet-friendly organization around it. Because you can inspire teams and create a movement of agile teams who integrate the planet as their stakeholder. But at a certain point, they are also going to need stuff from the organization. They need a structure and they need, like what I said, metrics. So what they also need is a vision and a strategy from the company, right? So if they really want to continue with this, it is important that the management also defines a strategy around it. And then what they need is training. Because green ops, green IT, it is a new field. It's a new field for developers too. And they need some guidelines and some principles from architecture on how to align together to work in a green way. So, yeah, like I said, my recent journey is at a power grid operator. I started there about 1.5, 2 years ago as a Scrum Master, and I was hired there because one of the managers, she really loved my vision about creating sustainable agile teams. So I was a Scrum Master, but I also got to do my workshops and to work with the teams to become green. And so that was really, really cool. But as I work with that company, I also had this clear vision in mind of the conditions that the teams need from outside of the teams that I just mentioned to you. And I wanted to make that work, but there was nothing in place. There was nothing. So what did I do? I just started to lobby. So I started to talk to managers and to architects and to agile coaches and scrum masters and technical people and people from observability and just anyone who I thought might help. And that was really cool because I got to speak to many people and there was a lot of willingness in these conversations, but there was not much traction going on. And that was pretty tough for me. Yeah, so I really wanted to do this, and I didn't understand why why doesn't this work, you know? So until one day I was talking to a manager, and he really liked my vision, and he said, "Oh, yeah, that's a great idea that you have. We have a strategy meeting next week, and we are going to write a strategy for 2025. And I'm going to write this into our strategy." Okay, cool. So, and then a few weeks later, I read it in the strategy, and they had put it this way. They had said, "We want 40% of all our DevOps teams to work green ops in 2025. 40% of all teams, which is about 60 teams, which is about like 500 people. Wow, wasn't that an amazing success? So I was thrilled. I was really thrilled. And then time went on, and it was 2025. And there was no plan, and there was no structure in place, and there was no ownership. And I was a little frustrated again, to be really honest with you. And one day I was talking to an agile coach, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know. This is so important to me, but I don't know how to get people going." And then he said to me, "You've been talking to so many people in this company. Why don't you put them together and just create a work group or a community?" And I was like, yeah, maybe I should have thought about that myself. But okay, so that is what I did. and then there were about 16 to 20 people who came to the first meeting. And we created a Green IT work group. And it's based on like these passionate people who really want to do this and who all do this besides their daily jobs, like myself. So what we do is we try to create the conditions for the teams to really work in a green way. And to be honest with you, so I'm really happy that this Green IT work group, that it is there and that it started. Still, within the politics of a company, it's not easy. It's not easy, but we're making small steps. So, and meanwhile, in the meantime, the Scrum Masters are stepping up. So I recently did a workshop with Scrum Masters, and like I said, some of them are doing a hackathon, some of them are doing sustainability in the innovation sprint. So it feels like there's a new vibe, and that now the company is really, really prepared to become more green. So I just want to close with a few learnings. So the first is, if you really want to help your company to become green and to help your teams with green IT and green ops, start talking and start lobbying. And don't be afraid to just talk to people, right? If you feel this is important, make it happen. You know, the thing is, because in the beginning I was like, I'm not a sustainability expert, and I'm not a tech person. Oh, I'm just a Scrum Master. What can I do? And then I figured, well, I can facilitate these people, right? I can facilitate my teams. I can facilitate the experts in making the right decisions. Yeah. And then the other thing is to build your tribe. So this is really one of my lessons. I can be a loner. So I'm trying to do this stuff all on my own. Build your tribe is a really important one to keep the energy going and to help each other out and to do it together, because together you come so much further. So, and then the last one is, and this is, I think, the most important one, is to don't be afraid to walk the unofficial path. I really walk the unofficial path in this company. I talk to managers way above my pay grade. I founded this Green IT work group without permission. I didn't ask for permission, but it was not official, but now soon it is gonna be official because people like it. Yeah, so I think that is a really important one, to don't be afraid, and yeah, to just be a kind rebel. Don't be afraid to be a kind rebel in your company. Yeah. So, in closing, I wonder, do you know Harry? Harry is the upside down hanging bird. So Harry sees everything from a different perspective. And as you see the other birds, they are really annoyed by him. They're like, oh, it's Harry again. Harry is always asking these weird questions, always asking the difficult questions. We just want to do business as usual. Leave us alone. But no, Harry, he keeps hanging upside down. But these birds will be his early adopters. They are intrigued by him. They wonder, what would it be like to hang upside down? and then soon there will be 3 birds hanging upside down. Yeah, and then the situation is going to change. Then more birds will follow, and then soon you will be the odd one out when you're still standing upright. So I would like to encourage you to all be a Harry for our planet, and to join our movement, because I'm not the only one. There is a lot of other initiatives going on, and unfortunately, they are all under the translation. There is Agilists for Planet, there is Green PO, there is Women in Agile World Work, and there is the Agile Sustainability Initiative. So go check it out. There is also a Sustainable Agile Manifesto, which is really, really interesting. So if you follow the link, it will get you there. And then here are some downloads. If you follow the QR code, there are some downloads that you can use to run this workshop with your own teams or within your own company. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marjolein. Bueno, tenemos 5 minutitos para alguna pregunta, para...
Oh, questions. Oh, sorry.
Questions.
Yeah.
Questions. Preguntas. ¿Alguna pregunta? Tú ya has repetido.
Regarding one of your sentences here in Spain, we have a beautiful sentence that says, es preferible pedir perdón a pedir permiso. You know what it means?
Oh, yeah, I think so. You can always apologize later.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's for you. It's a present from Spain.
Yes. Yeah.
And-
So be a rebel. You can always apologize later.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you.
And have you think about having an agreement with the ONU or the organization of how it's called in English, the ONU? The ONU, yeah. Correct. About the sustainability development goals?
Yeah, so there are already things in place in the company for corporate sustainability. But for corporate sustainability, they do not think about IT.
You should speak with them.
I have spoken to them multiple times. Yeah. So they really love what I'm doing. And they really love what we're doing with the Green IT work group.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Nice. Otra pregunta. Por ahí hay una mano nueva. Si da tiempo.
So thank you, Marjorie.
Marjolein.
Sorry?
Marjolein.
Marjolein.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
Sorry. So yeah, you said at the beginning that it was the planet over the money and over profit. But given how the planet works, I don't think that if you don't speak about profit, you can change much things. So is this actually profitable? Can we speak with our clients that they can become more profitable if they become more green?
Yeah. So I think when you talk in terms of carbon footprint reduction, which is a one-on-one proxy with energy reduction, which is a one-on-one proxy with cost reduction. So if you need to convince the board that green IT is a great idea, then you can always say that it also reduces cost.
So if this is true, that you can actually reduce cost, why aren't they doing it actually? So a lot of the IT departments want to reduce costs by any means. So if this can actually help them, why do you think they are not doing it yet?
So I think we can still raise awareness about what is going on in the IT environments and how much waste there is. So for example, one of my teams, when they started to look through this new lens, they noted, oh, we run 2 backups every day. That is not necessary. Okay, so they shut down 1 backup system, but nobody ever asked them about it. All right. Any more questions?
1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute, very fast. I wanted to ask you if you have offshore people in your teams, I mean in India or so, how do you include them? That's if you have.
Oh, no, I don't have any offshore people, no, in my teams, no. But I figure you could include them just like you do it with the people that are regular in your team. You can also ask them. I mean, they are also the experts, right? If they are the developers in your DevOps teams, you can also ask them how they would reduce their carbon emissions. Maybe they have systems that they don't use anymore, that they can shut down, like for example. Yeah.
That was the last question.
Okay.
So, thank you very much,
Yes,
Marjolein.
my pleasure.
Ahora, momento de palito. White one, red one. Feedback for Marjolein. Thank you very much.
Thank you, people. Thank you.